It's the night of the Sabbath. Jesus has just healed Peter's mother in law. And now everybody is gathering together outside of Peter's house because they heard that Jesus is performing miracles. He's healing a lot of people. And the whole city of Capernaum is there, gathering outside of the door. And so Jesus led them in and he heals them one by one. Let's go over the synoptic gospel, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, and see how we can learn from every single perspective about these beautiful healing miracles that Jesus is performing that Sabbath night. Mark 1:34, pretty long verse. Let's read it. Kai etherapeuten polus kakos ekontas poikileis nosois, kai daimonia pola exebalen, kai uk ephien lalein ta daimonia hoti edesan auton. So let's break down these three different sentences, okay, introduced by Kai, and. So the first sentence, the verb is etheraupesen. Okay, this is the first verb of the first sentence. Who's the subject? Jesus. And who's the object? Here, polus ekontas. All right, where this is the adjective and this is the noun, and together make the direct object. All right, this kakos is just an adverb. All right, and then you have this poikiles nosois, which tells you the way these people. It's a sort of a how. Okay, the way these people were affected by sickness, why they were sick, what sicknesses they were sick. The second sentence is short. The subject is still Jesus, and the verb here is exebalen. So this is verb number two. And daimonia pola is the object, direct object number two. This is object number one, object number two, where the adjective in the first case is polus, in the adjective in the second case is pola. So it's the same adjective. And then you have the third sentence, where you have this uk, which is a negative adverb. It means it's a negative not, don't, didn't, doesn't, according to the person. And then the principal verb is this ephian. So this is principal verb number three that wants an infinitive form after it. So this is another verb that is there just because there is a construct allowed by this ephian. We're going to go over it. And this ta daimonia is basically the subject of the subordinate. We're going to see that. And then you have this clause here introduced by Hoti, okay, which we're going to see means basically since, given the fact that, okay, so you have this clause where the subject now it's not Jesus anymore, but the demons, ta daimonia, all right, where the verb, so this is verb number four, it's the verb of the clause, has the demons as the subject, and now the object, direct object is here, becomes being Jesus. So a lot of grammatical stuff to go over, but not complicated. So now we can understand the structure of the sentence. We can also start translating. All right, let's start from the first sentence. Kai is the conjunction and then there is this verb, iterapeusen. Now there is this epsilon in front and this sigma in the ending of the verb that tell us that this is an aorist tense. And the ending, sen, tells us that this is a third person singular. The verb is therapeo, okay? And the verb therapeo reminds of words in English like therapy. That's exactly where they're coming from. Therapeo means to heal. Okay, therapy is a practice, a process to heal somebody, right? So Etherapeson means he healed. Jesus healed whom? Polus ekontas kakos. We've seen this same expression, exactly the same expression before. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. So you have the adjective polus and the participle ekontas from the verb echo, which means to have. So literally means, and he healed polus, many, ekontas, having, kakos, meaning bad. This is a not verb. Literally, many having bad. So many feeling sick, many sick people. Okay. And he healed many sick people, poikilais nosois. Now, this is a dative case. All right. We see it from this ending, iota sigma, is. And this is a feminine dative plural. All right. Because the noun nosos means sickness and it's feminine. Now, poikilais is an adjective that is very similar to this polus. It has more or less the same meaning. It means many. Poikilais just does not mean simply many in the meaning of number, but also many in terms of different types of. All right. So this means different types of sicknesses, literally. So, and Jesus healed many that were sick and were sick with many different types of sicknesses. This is the literal meaning of the sentence. And kai, daimonia pola, exebalen. Now, this verb, exebalen, you see, has the same structure of the verb etherapeusen. You have the epsilon in front, and then this is from the verb ekballo, and the double lambda gets into one single lambda in the aorist case. It's an irregular verb. So the verb is actually ek, ballo. So it's compounded by the preposition ek and the verb ballo. If you remember, we saw this verb exactly in Mark when the Spirit, the Holy Spirit comes right after baptism, and ekbale sends forward, like push forward, throws Jesus into the desert. All right, to be tempted by the devil. So this is the verb ekbalo, which means literally to throw out of. All right, to throw out of. Ek means out of, and balo means to throw. All right. So what was Jesus doing? He was driving, but it's a very strong verb. Okay, he was driving. Pola is the same as this polus, but now it's in the neuter case, plural. Daimonia, this is demons, many demons. Okay, he was driving out many demons. Okay, so you have people that are affected by many different types of sicknesses, and especially there were people that were demon possessed. Okay, so you have the two types, like natural sickness and demon possession. All right. So these first two sentences can be translated like this. And Jesus healed many that were sick with many different types of sicknesses and drove out many demons. What about the last sentence? Well, and he was saying, he was doing three things. So healing the natural sicknesses, driving out demons, and then uk aphian. We saw that this uk is a negative particle. In this particular case, is didn't. Okay, so Jesus didn't do something, and the verb aphian is another aorist of an irregular verb, which is aphiemi, which means to allow, to let, to permit. So he did not allow whom? Ta daimonia, the same one, the demons, you see here, it's the same ones. The demon, ta, is the definite article, neuter, plural, okay? So he was driving out many demons, and he didn't allow the demons, those demons, lalein. Lalein is a verb which means to talk, all right? To talk. So this is interesting because we already seen this. Remember when Jesus entered the synagogue and drove that evil spirit from that poor man. And then when the demon got out finally of the body, shrieked out. He couldn't speak anymore because Jesus commanded him to stay silent. The same thing here. Jesus didn't let the demon speak, talk. Why is that? Well, for the same reason that he commanded that evil demon not to speak in the synagogue. Because hoti, edison, auton, they knew him. Okay, this verb is an irregular verb, aiden, which means to know. To know. In this particular ending is a third person plural, which of course refers to ta daimonia, the demon, because the demon knew him. So auton is in the accusative case, masculine singular of the personal pronoun, um, third person singular. All right, so it's a him because they knew him. So what's the problem here? The problem is that Jesus does not want the demons to reveal to everybody who he is. Remember the demon in the synagogue. I know who you are. I know who you are. And Jesus rebukes him. Shut up, basically tells him. And from that moment on, the demon cannot speak anymore, can just shriek, right? Same thing here. Jesus doesn't want them to reveal his real nature. Why? Because his time has not come yet. Many reasons. The main reason is that his time has not come yet. But the other reason is that he's making sure that they're not messing up with the plan of redemption. Why are these demons speaking out loud that he is the Messiah, he is the Son of God? We know you. That's a little counterintuitive, right? You would expect them to deny Jesus' divinity, to deny that Jesus is the Messiah, to confuse people around saying that he's not the Messiah, he's not the Son of God. But why are they actually saying that he is the Messiah? He is the Son of God. And why is Jesus so upset about that? So let's answer the first question. Why are the demons so, they have this urgency to speak out loud the fact that he is the Son of God, he is the Messiah that the Jews were waiting for? Because they know they want to screw up Jesus' plan. They want to screw up God's salvation plan. They know that the sooner they can expose Jesus to the Jews, the sooner he's gonna be killed. They want to get rid of Jesus as fast as possible. They don't want to let him minister. All right. Just imagine that the Jews, the high priest, okay, get their hands on Jesus right at the beginning of his preaching and kill him. Of course, that's an impossibility, right? Because that's part of God's plan, right? So that would never happen. But of course, demons don't know that. Demons still try to put road bumps, all right, on the salvation plan, on the providential salvation plan of God, and they want to make it derail. That's the point. They want to have Jesus killed so that Jesus cannot preach, so that Christianity cannot possibly evolve from there. Just imagine paradoxically that the high priest at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry, they're able to get their hands on him and kill him. Well, no Christianity would come out of there, right? There wouldn't be Last Supper, there wouldn't be crucifixion, there would be anything, right? So, of course, that was not part of God's plan, but that's what they're trying to do. And Jesus is just rebuking them because of that. He doesn't want them to mess up God's plan of salvation. Okay, now let me show you something that I think is very cool. I told you at the beginning that I wanted to look at this passage in Mark from a synoptic perspective. In particular, there's Matthew that is talking about that same episode of Jesus healing a lot of people and driving out a lot of demons. And he's speaking about that particular episode. We already talked about this in the last video in two different chapters. Chapter 4, at the end of chapter 4, at the very end of chapter 4, and then at the beginning of chapter 8. Why? Because in the very middle between chapter 4 and chapter 8, you have these chapter 5, 6, and 7, these long three chapters where Matthew puts the long, big Sermon on the Mount. And so at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew starts from chapter 8 with basically where he had left off in chapter 4. And so you see how this material gets split in Matthew in two different chapters, far away from each other. There are three big, long chapters in the middle, okay? But they're coming from the same material. And in Mark, you have this in verse 132 and in verse 134. And I want to show you very briefly the beauty of the synoptic gospels and how the material gets utilized by the different evangelists in different ways and in different contexts. And that's also why the so-called synoptic conundrum or synoptic problem is, as many have said, probably unsolvable, because it's so complicated that it's almost impossible to understand who used the material of whom. All right. But it's very interesting to notice that in any case. So let's start with what we went over today. This sentence, Kai itherapezen, he healed many that were having, that were feeling sick, right? So this itherapezen, you're going to find it here. Look at here in Matthew. He says that Jesus itherapezen, same verb, okay? And he uses this expression, pantas tus kakos ekontas, all that were sick. And Mark here uses polus kakos ekonta, many that were sick. But Mark in verse 132, so two verses before, look at this, had used this pantas tus kakos ekontas, which is exactly the expression that Matthew uses here. Okay, you see this connection from Matthew 8, etherapezen, to Mark 134, etherapezen, polos kakos ekonta, brings back to Mark 132, that goes back to Mark 8. All right? And then you have other things, okay? For example, in Mark 132, he says that they were bringing to them many that were diamonizomenus, they were possessed by demons. Yeah, the same expression you find here. Okay, they were bringing to him many polus diamonizomenus that they were possessed. But these diamonizomenus, look at this. It's also found in this passage, Mark 4:24. They were bringing to him, okay, bringing to him, like here, prosenen kanotau, bringing to him pantas tus kakos ekontas. Again, same expression, right? Same expression. And we're bringing who? Diamonizomenus. Look at this. Diamonizomenus. Found in Mark 4:24, Matthew 4:24, Matthew 8:16, and Mark 1:32. And then Matthew 4:44, it says that they were bringing to him all those that were sick. Look at this. Poikilais nosois. Does that remind you of anything? Yes, of course. We saw it today. It's this expression here. All right? Look at this. Okay? And then Mark 1:34 says, Exebalen, Jesus was driving out daimona pola, many demons. Look at this, Matthew 8:16. Exebalen, you cannot even read anymore here. Too many lines. Exebalen tapneumata logo. He was driving out tapneumata, the spirits, of course, the evil spirits. So there's a different word there. Here, Mark uses daimonia, demons. Matthew uses the spirits, logo with his word, but the idea is the same. Kai, daimonia, exebalen, kai, exebalen, tap, pneumata. Okay, he was driving out demons, he was driving out spirits. Okay, so this is just a quick idea, so you can get a glance of it, of the synoptic conundrum. Try to make sense of this and try to understand who copied who, or who got the material from whom, and which part of the sentence is driven. Is Mark getting it from Matthew, or Matthew getting it from Mark, or maybe both getting from some unknown source? Go figure. But I just wanted to present it to you because this is very fascinating. This speaks to the creation, of the gospel in the original language.